Hello and welcome to LGIU's interview series. I'm Caitlin Lord, and today we're speaking to Councillor Cllr Pragnell from East Renfrewshire Council in Scotland about her experience as a councillor. Councillor Pragnell was elected in 2022 and has since worked with East Renfrewshire Council's Education Department, particularly the Learn Well service, to ensure that young people who find engaging with school challenging are supported. Councillor Pragnell is also chair of East Renfrewshire's Integration Joint Board and has oversight of the work of the Health and Social Care Partnership. As someone living with a disability, Katie has a keen interest in promoting disability rights and inclusion. And last year, she was named Young Councillor of the Year at our LGIU and CCLA annual Councillor Awards ceremony in Scotland. Councillor Pragnell, welcome and thank you for joining us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, to dive in first, I'm going to ask you what inspired you to become a councillor?
So I got into politics by accident after struggling to access education and healthcare. I was encouraged to join a political party by my modern studies teacher. And to be quite honest, I was determined to make sure that no one else experiences the challenges I faced. And I wanted to try and influence decision making in the hope of making a difference and creating change. Also, I love East Renfrewshire, and when an opportunity arose to stand in the ward I grew up in and that I've spent my life in, I jumped at that. Community is really important to me, and my family have lived in East Renfrewshire for 5 generations. So, community ties run deep in my family, and it was just a great opportunity. I was very proud to have the support of the community and to get elected.
Brilliant. Wow, it's great that you are elected and supporting your community that you love so much. So moving on, what achievement are you most proud of so far in your time as a councillor?
I think there's actually quite a few achievements, so forgive me if I kind of rattle them off. I think one of the things I'm really proud about is supporting our local community groups. In particular, I've done a lot of work with Netherley and Stamperland Community Council. I've supported them to access funding for the Netherley to Stamperland walkway to improve its accessibility and to make the walkway a safe walking route to the local primary school. I've also supported their vision to create a pump track in the local park, which will provide cycling opportunities, bike scootering opportunities, and any wheeling activity, because they saw the need for something for a facility for all ages. And I've worked with them, council officers and councillors, to bring their vision to life. And recently, the council approved funding for this project and became an official partner. So that was such an achievement. It was really community driven. I feel I played my part in trying to convince council officers and councillors that this was a good idea. And it just shows you what communities can do with a bit of support. Also, kind of simple things like increasing accessible parking bays in our villages and town centres. It's something I've always struggled with. And I had many emails when I was first elected about how people wanted to use our local businesses but couldn't access them because there was very little disabled parking. So this is just a simple thing that has a huge impact, and it impacts those who need these spaces, but also it allows them to actually engage with our community and support our local businesses. Also a very proud corporate parent, and take great pride in the work I've done with our care experienced young people, and I feel very privileged to be part of their lives and for them to have embraced me in such a way. And each time I meet with them, I'm in awe of what they're doing and how they're working with the council to improve the lives of care experienced young people, whether that's accessing housing or education.
That's amazing. And I think that is something that is such a privilege of the role of a councillor, is that you can be involved in these projects that touch people's daily lives and improves people's day-to-day lives. And you've just given three quite different examples of how you've been able to do that in your time as a councillor, which is fantastic. So just pulling a little bit more on some of the things that you mentioned there, you've actively worked to support young people and promote inclusion, particularly your work with the Learn Well service and in your position as chair of the Integration Joint Board. And I'd love to hear how your personal experience has shaped your approach to public service and policy.
Well, I wouldn't be in this role or have entered politics if it wasn't for my lived experience, and it's at the core of everything I do. And I think no matter what I do in the council, it's always there. And I think everyone knows that. So I think it creates my passion and it drives me. I think it's no secret that it's a difficult time for local government across Scotland and across the UK, with really difficult decisions having to be made on a daily basis. And it can be easy to make these decisions without fully understanding the real human impact. And as someone who's had to access these services, I really understand that. So I'm determined that if these difficult decisions have to be made, that equality impact assessments aren't just a tick box exercise. They're crucial to any policy making within the council, and particularly within the Integration Joint Board and the Learn Well service. And I think residents understand the really difficult challenges local government faces, but we have to take the community with them. So I think it's really important that it's a journey we all work together, and we have to be open and transparent so that when these difficult decisions are made, if they're well versed in why these things have to unfortunately happen, then it does make things slightly easier when decisions are made. And I think when we look at issues over equality, especially when accessing social care, has been extremely difficult. But I think people do realise that if you find them help and alternatives and you bring them on that journey, it's easier. I suppose with the Learn Well service in East Renfrewshire, it's the only model of its kind in Scotland. It's a truly multidisciplinary approach with young people at the centre of it, so it brings together teachers, educational psychology, support workers and mental health workers. And I'm determined to do all I can to help it succeed. Recently, they've now moved into their own premises instead of being in kind of council-run premises, and we've converted one of the old janitor accommodations at a local primary school, so they're now at the heart of the community. And to be quite honest, if this service had been about when I was at school, it would have been life-changing for me. I know that having spoken to parents, carers, and the young people themselves, it truly is. And without this service, which is still only a couple of years old, their children would have completely disengaged from education in all its kinds. So it really is a lifeline. And I'm just very determined to help in any way I can to make it succeed. And I have to say the team have been incredible at embracing me and understanding why I take such a keen interest.
That's brilliant. Yeah, and you can really hear from what you were just saying then that people and community are really at the heart of your approach. And yeah, you know full well the impact of these decisions because you've lived it. So yeah, it's amazing to have an elected representative who can speak out for the needs of community. So kind of touching a bit more on that, what changes would you like to see in how councils work with communities to provide more inclusive and effective services?
I still think there can be an issue over communication and transparency. I think sometimes councils just take it for granted that we all speak council speak. We all kind of know what's going on, but actually members of the public, when they see services maybe getting cut or not operating as they used to, communication is central to everything we do, and whether that's online or actually face-to-face consultations, and trying to spread the word about why these things are particularly difficult, but I just think it's key to everything we do. And I think in East Renfrewshire, we're kind of being ahead of the curve on this. And we were the first local authority in Scotland to embrace social media way back in 2008, which was pretty groundbreaking. And as such, our following has kind of grown over the years. But there's always room for improvement. And I recognise even there was a best value report produced by Audit Scotland on East Renfrewshire in the last couple of months, and it did actually appraise the communication. I just think there's no room for complacency, and we always have to strive to improve, and we have to listen to communities in whatever way we can. And yes, sometimes that will be very difficult, but we need to understand that the communities councils can't operate the way they need to and want to.
So moving on a little bit more about you and your kind of some advice that you can give. What advice would you give to a young person who wants to pursue a leadership role or a public service role?
I would encourage them to definitely go for it. Seek elected office. No matter what your political views are, I think our council chambers need to be more representative of our population. So in East Renfrewshire, we have a large population of young people, and it's important everyone's views are represented. And it can be difficult in local government, especially as a young person. You will feel quite a lot of imposter syndrome and how did I get to this point? But it's incredibly important that you do if you want to step forward. And the bit of advice I would give is if you're looking to stand in a local authority, see if there's any younger councillors, I can guarantee that even if they don't perhaps share the same political views as you, they will be supportive and they will be in the background encouraging you and offering words of wisdom because we're all in this together no matter our views. I think healthy democracy needs young people and it needs people of all walks of life. So I can guarantee that no matter what your political stance is, if there is a young person sitting in that council chamber, they will support you. And so feel free to reach out to them because certainly I've had many conversations with young people in the last couple of years who are considering standing for local government next time round. And it's just so important that we do this together. And to be quite honest, I think it can be difficult to stay in your political silos, whether you're independent or as part of a political party. But I have been overwhelmed with the support I've received, cross-party support over the last couple of years, and I wouldn't be where I am today without friendships that have been made for that. And it's a lot of it is young people supporting each other who are all in the same boat.
That's so encouraging to hear. I think it's amazing that you've received that level of support, and you're right, having diverse elected representatives, it's so important. So it's great that you've been able to foster and be part of that network and help to build that diversity.
I think, for example, like in the council in East Renfrewshire, there's only two councillors under 30. And myself and my colleague are in different political parties, but we understand the challenges. And I know we've always tried to look out for each other while we've served our term because it can be difficult. But
Yeah.
it is possible. And I would also say if you're going to embark in a local government or any sort of public service, make sure you have a great support network of friends, family, because they're the people you rely on when things don't always go to plan.
It's great advice. So there's three questions here. What are your hopes for the future? What role do you see local government and councillors playing in the next 25 years? And what legacy would you like to leave?
I think the political sphere changes on a daily basis now, even actually sometimes on an hourly basis. So for me, I never want to take being in politics for granted. I know times have changed where it is not a guaranteed job for life and we can never take people for granted. So I would hope I would still be able to foster trust amongst my community. And I would hope one day perhaps to be in the Scottish Parliament representing the community I love it at a Scottish level because certainly from being in local government there has sometimes been a bit of frustration and the things that are you can't change at local level, but you can at Scottish level. So I would hope to maybe be there one day, but never take things for granted and never take the public for granted because we've seen where that can lead. But if politics didn't work out for me in my role as health and social care convener and as chair of the integration joint board, I've opened up my eyes to the world of social work. So I do have plans if politics does not work out to go into the social work profession. I wouldn't have realised that if I hadn't been in this role. And I think that's really important. That's the profound effect that having my role has had on me that, if politics doesn't work out, I'm determined to serve the public in whatever way I can. And I am seriously considering going into social work if that doesn't work out.
Yeah, brilliant. It's true public service. Finally, there's been a couple of things that Councillor Pragnell has touched on around communicating with communities and building trust. And LGIU have recently published 2 briefings on both of those topics, which we can share below this interview if you'd like to have a look at those. So moving on to our final question. What did it mean to you personally and professionally to be named LGIU and CCLA's Young Councillor of the Year last year?
I think it meant a lot, to be quite honest. I was honoured to even have been nominated and then shortlisted, and it was such a tough category and with so many amazing other young councillors in Scotland. When my name was called and when at the event they announced a kind of special award, I think it was highly commended award in that category. And it went to the person who I thought would win the overall award. I was quite shocked, and it was great to be there with my parents and my partner. And I think there was a immense sense of pride because they've seen me kind of go through this journey. And there's been times where I've felt, is it worth it? Am I doing the right thing? But to kind of be recognised in this way, it was truly special, and it was a really special night to share that with my family. And also to Owen, the council leader, had nominated me, and also my fellow colleague, Councillor Betty Cunningham, who subsequently won an award as well. It was just a fantastic event and night, and it's something I'll always remember. And I was quite overwhelmed in the aftermath of, again, the messages and emails of support from people across the political spectrum that recognised and said it was well deserved. So I felt like it was nice to have validation from peers as well, because there's been times where has this been worth it, and also the outpouring of love from the community when it was announced I'd won was truly incredible. So, and the award now sits proud of place in my living room. So it's great.
Katie, thank you so much for taking the time with me today and sharing your experience and insights with LGIU as our Young Councillor of the Year. And thank you everyone for listening. We'll be back soon with more interviews. But in the meantime, nominations for our 2025 LGIU and CCLA Councillor Awards are still open. They close on the 11th of June. So if you know a councillor doing an amazing job, then nominate them for these national awards. Please visit our website where you can find out information about our Councillor Award categories, previous winners like Cllr Pragnell, and how to nominate a councillor. Thank you.